these guys, number one, took this issue seriously, but helped us to get to where we are now, where we can look at numbers and we've got a way ahead, and we know where our deficiencies are. So the paper that I gave you guys, you see that number 15641. That's the number that's reflective of connect check-ins, and essentially those are those transactions I've been talking about that are pushed up to Nebraska to the parent server and then back down to our server, where we see where you were, on that first day of early voting, and you checked in at the library at 1:30 and then you voted. After we account for the provisional ballots and some of the stuff that the two parties do together for the ballot board, we get to an in-person check-in number of 15,626. The ballot board also accounted for 649 ballot by mails, which gives us a total of 16275. 16186 was what I was reporting on election night. Add in those provisional, that stuff that comes in post-election, we account for that. The number that I'm reporting in ERM, meaning this is a election report management. That's where I'm reading in that encrypted thumb drive that's delivered to me by the presiding judge of each location. So as I was saying yesterday, that's a real person that had a real ballot that got that ballot into the DS200, and it was counted on election night by me in ERM. So here's the area where, and again, ES&S is working hard. Here's where we have a limited capability. We can see those check-ins in Connect for the ballot board folks, but we don't see the totals, correct?
That's correct.
Is that the best way to kind of, so it throws our total number off, and even though, okay, I got a person that I issued a ballot by mail to, I can see that person in Connect.
What is in Connect?
Connect is the server that we use that shows us live check-ins.
Hold with software.
Yeah.
Try not hold with software. Disconnect.
Yeah. You follow me so far? If I issued you a ballot by mail, I know that you got a ballot by mail. So when you show up at the early voting site or election day site, and you're there because you think you want to check in and vote in person, I'm telling you, no, man. I sent you a ballot, and I need that ballot back before we get you over there. All right. So where the discrepancy is that number is not reflective in the totals. So that's why originally I'm saying we had 16,186, and the discrepancy was 15,641 is what we've been seeing. I think that's what it shows right now. And we couldn't figure out where that, we knew there was a connectivity challenge, but what we didn't know is that it truly was those ballot by mails that we're not seeing. Those votes got counted, and they're reflective in that number of 16,254, which is what I reported to the state yesterday after the ballot board got done, and it's what both of the chairs, if they have not already done, I know the Republican Party has not, they've got till 6 o'clock tonight to certify those and canvass those election results.
So bottom line, you have 16,254 names of people that voted.
We will by close of business tomorrow. But they're
What's still the hang up with me? Where's that data at? Hey Chris, I want to ask you point blank on this one. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I want you answering these questions. All right? I want to know. I want you guys telling me this.
So the total, the 16,275 number, that's the total of check-ins, or total amount of people that have voted in the election, primary election. Both absentee ballot by mail.
Right, and then you got the 16,275 names that you print. Hang on a second, Dan. You got 16,275 names of people that voted in Rockwall County right now.
Correct.
Is that on our site, or is SOS got that?
I'm not sure if it's up at the SOS.
Let's leave, hang on a second. Cliff, Commissioner, bear with me. I want to make sure we want to get down to here right quick, and then I'm going to ask you questions on that with the SOS. All right, how that works. All right, so then.
Okay, so, and then the next number down is the, votes counted 16,254.
Mhm.
So that's the total number of ballots that Chris was saying actually had a ballot deposited in the ballot box. That's the people that showed up to vote. That's the total number of ballots that were counted. The difference between those two is the 21, which could represent what we call a fleeing voter, someone who waited in line,
Oh, it happens.
checked in,
Yep.
maybe voted, maybe put the ballot in their pocket instead of taking it to the tabulator to drop it off, or just left the building, but they left after checking in.
Okay, so, well, that's what you were pointing on the other day, that you would rather be in a spot to where you're higher of the people that are counted in.
Rather than numbers look like this than the other way.
Right.
Okay, then I got tons of questions for you.
Okay.
All right, and you guys, I gotta explain it to us.
Ready.
So what was the issue? What was the disconnect from what he ran where it showed,
16,186 originally.
why did they not align with the ballots that were, why did the names not align with the ballots that were cast, or the number align? Why did the poll book show different locations and times for people voted, and why did the poll books not show names of certain voters?
I think you got 3 or 4 questions there, but I'll try to start.
I got a lot more than that.
The poll book software is managing election day check-ins. The absentee ballot by mail gets managed on the voter registration software side. So even though the poll books know who voted by mail, we're not incrementing that total.
That's what we're not talking about. That's not what we're talking about. And if it's,
Well, I'm trying to explain how you got to that number.
That's not the number I'm touching on.
Okay.
All right, I'm talking about the reason why you guys made it seems to me like you've known this all along, and everything's rosy and sweet. But were y'all the two watching the meeting yesterday?
I was, yes.
So you understand that the data that was sent up, what we were talking about, we were talking about people that looked like they were voted either an early vote, or they voted in person, either an early vote or on election day at one location, and it showed them at a different location at a different time. It showed certain names.
That issue we have someone in Omaha looking into. We don't have the answer to that one yet.
Okay, hey, let me help y'all out real quick, okay? Here's what I'm gonna make it very well clear about what doing business with me is like, all right? Don't blow smoke up now, Kelly. That's my number one stinking problem. My number one problem on this right now is being able to be accountable for people that voted and why the dang names don't match up. Why that's not happening. Why we can't print a list that shows exactly that I voted at the Rockwall County Library at 1:30 in the afternoon.
Yep.
Why that's showing from somewhere else?
Well, first of all, I don't blow smoke up anyone, just so
Right.
you know, I'll talk straight, that's what we're taught to do in our corporation. Second, we have someone looking into that, that's gonna take more time to dig into. They're going through log files and all the lists to determine why the time dates are off in the locations.
But what we, Chris, bottom line, what we're showing now is we show in person 15,626, ballot board 649 for a total of 6,275, and the 6,254, there's a variance of 21, which I'm following. I don't know if the public's understanding what ends up happening into that. That can be someone who did see, even standing at the locations where you saw someone, I can't think of an individual that went in and got past the check-in and changed their mind. I mean, I know that,
Right.
I know that sometimes that does happen. That happens in every freaking election.
You want to see 16,254 names.
Period. And I want them to be, I want them to know, I want to see 16,254 names, and I want to know where they voted and when they voted.
Okay.
And if you can't show me that, I mean, I for the life of me, can't imagine any situation where, and tell me where I'm wrong, or you're gonna get back to me that would be, that by any stretch of the imagination, that's an out of line expectation of the board. We may not be able to see that.
No, not at all.
All right, what else?
I don't know, you tell me.
Commissioner Severe, you got anything?
What I was gonna say before is on the 21. I know you guys are looking at Omaha, you're gonna do what you can do on that, but you gotta realize that if we have 16,275 voters, we shouldn't have a discrepancy of any. 0 is perfect what a voting should be.
We can't account for a person that gets pissed off and is in line.
21, yeah, Commissioner.
Or walks out with a ballot because they didn't realize
I
it
know
was
that.
the.
That's what you're talking about, but the people out here, and I agree with this, I'm not yelling hard at anybody, I'm just saying. When you look at that number, the public looks at it as it should be a zero balance. All of them do.
Okay.
What we have to do is be able to verify our non-zero balance, and that's something that we probably will never be able to do, as you say, and I think I explained it today. If a person comes, one of the perfect examples is the people at 62 and over when they get a ballot by mail. They get it, look at it, think, oh, this is a good thing, I'll fill it out, or I'll look at it and see what I want, write my information down, then go vote. But they already threw the ballot away, so you're not gonna go vote, because your ballot is in the garbage somewhere. They don't realize that the ballot that came to them is their ballot, and they were supposed to mail that back.
I mean, even for those folks, we got an affidavit we make fill out, and they still get to vote.
I know. But those are mistakes that happen that cause this to be off, to a certain extent.
No, because I got, so you're 65 or older, you asked for a ballot by mail, you got your ballot. I know I sent it to you, but until that ballot goes into a DS200, the ballot hasn't been counted, the vote hasn't been cast. Kind of the same concept of a person checking in, and if for whatever reason, that ballot never makes it into the box, or they leave, or whatever.
But you checked in because you sent it to them.
They're in this count. I know who those people are.
Yeah, he's got the 20.
Where ES&S is having a challenge is how we account for those people in the aggregate. And before I hear it, what I would say to everyone listening is, if you're going to the Secretary of State's website to look at their information, their ballot tracker, their in-person stuff, you're probably in the wrong spot. If you're not in rockwallvotes.com, looking at the information that I'm responsible for, I can't be, stuff that goes to the state is problematic at best, and I'll just leave it at
Now
that.
tell me that's where I was gonna shift gears. That's coming to you. Who reports, what is sent? What is that data and where does it what is that data and where does it come from?
It comes out of my office at the end of each day of early voting, and then it's transmitted electronically to the Secretary of State, and then they take that data and they compile it, and then they release it the following day. If you remember back in the old days when all y'all were on the ballot, you weren't going to the state's website to figure out if everybody voted the day before. It was coming from me. So again,
Then, well, y'all kind of shifted that gear where you hit that link onto the website and you told us, even as candidates, to go back and
that's what the state told us to do. I didn't make that up. I didn't want to do it that way. I prefer you just send me a note and say, hey man, send me the results from yesterday. Okay, I'll have it in 10 minutes. But the state told us that's how we had to do it.
Sure would be nice if their stuff matched up with whatever they're doing, which we're gonna find that out too. But on your end, what you're telling me is by close of business tomorrow, well, first of all, we've got the number and you see it and we're counting, we've got, this is an actual, this is real. And then by tomorrow, what you're telling me is I'm gonna be able to see names and all of that good kind of stuff. It's gonna be able to show, it's gonna match this up right here. Mr. Gilbert.
I'm quite comfortable that everybody that went in to vote got to vote.
I agree with that.
And that went into the machine, it counted them electronically, and it filed that paper vote down in the bottom, and you have them all locked up. And I have no problem with that. I think we do have a disconnect between internet in or off, or no red light flash to tell the voter register that, hey, this isn't gonna go through right now. That's y'all's issue to work out, and you told us we were doing that. You know, the important thing in America, we go back to first votes ever cast. Were they doing all this? No, they weren't doing all this. Do I need a list of everybody that voted? No, I don't. But we've gotten into that habit, and it's secondary to the fact that I cast a vote and it got counted. And when the end of the day, they were counting whoever was running for office, either won or lost. So, I'm comfortable, and I'm comfortable that you guys will figure this connectivity issue out.
This is good news, but I want to back up for a minute and just kind of a reminder right quick of what we were looking at, why those names are so important. This is good news. There's no question about that. But what we had was a list of an incorrect list. We basically were, or, excuse me, not an incorrect list. Let me correct what I'm saying. On an incorrect list, a list that was missing. There was a gap between those that had checked in and ballots that had been cast.
But we know the ballots were cast, so that's the issue. So the real issue is this connectivity. Was it a glitch that you guys are gonna overcome in some form or fashion? And we won't have this again.
The time date stamps.
So we'll be able to see, that's what you've got. Bottom line is you're gonna be able to match the names of this and show the check in 16,275. Since the poll was check in, the check in with the 16,254, the people who voted, the unaccounted for number, I got you, understand that part. That's what we'll be able to see. And then one more time so I can understand your IT folks are working on what they're working on.
They're trying to determine out the time date stamp, because I guess there's voters that said they voted on one time, that we were showing they voted at a different time, and then at a different location. Yeah.
And I don't know that to be the case right now, because let's not lose sight of how we got here and what happened on last Saturday, and that list was erroneous. So, you know, if there's a person, I'm not sure that's an issue, but I know they're working on it to confirm or deny.
What bottom line is, this 16,275 number between person and ballot order, and what's going on, you could look at this and see if that's correct data in terms of where they checked in and what time they checked.
Yep, with a digital signature.
What makes this system, of course, it's the only, I want to make sure everybody does understand this, because I think there was, so many questions, as there should be, and not that there would be any surprise to any of this, so we would expect this. But I want to make sure that one thing is clear, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, all right? And that is, the poll book is the only thing that is internet connected. That's the only thing that's leaving, when we're using the term data's leaving Rockwall to go to somewhere else. That's what's hitting on your server in Nebraska.
Correct.
Come back into here, okay? The rest of that stuff's not.
Correct.
You know, we're talking about connectivity and going down. We're talking about
the only two internet transactions that happen on, and I'll just use election day because it's easy.
Sure.
You're at the poll book, because I gotta know that whether or not you tried to sneak over to Heat before you came to see me at the library. And then when I transmit results, election night results to the Secretary of State. Those are the only two internet-based transactions. That's it.
Do you have this problem anywhere else?
No, we haven't. It's unique here because we have 65 counties that use our poll book. We have 142 counties that use the tabulation side of it. But you guys, Smith and Dallas, are the only 3 counties that use it in conjunction with a third-party voter registration vendor. Instead of using the state's voter registration system, you've got a voter registration system that you manage on your own that syncs up with the state's voter registration system. So there's a few extra hurdles in there, because now we're having our poll book system's talking to your voter registration system, and then your voter registration system has to send the same data up to the state system. So it's a little unique and a few hurdles that we're having to
Incur back on that.
Kind of clarify that. So that vendor is Votech. We pay those folks about 40 grand a year, I think. Lisa was here, but we are also talking to some other folks about providing, because there have been challenges with that company and that relationship, and ES&S is one of the companies that we're looking at, because we've got, basically, we could give Votech a 30-day notice and cut ties with them and do the voter registration and stuff with ES&S, and then everything we would be doing would be with them. Now, whether or not that would be a cleaner solution to any potential problems in the past, I don't know. I'm not familiar with their VR system yet, but we're gonna get spiel here probably within the next week or so. And not to say that VOTEC had any bearing on what we're talking about today. This is a
Different processes to be done with the different systems.
Does the other counties that have the equipment use the hotspots like we do too?
Yeah, I think just about everybody, especially counties that are countywide, vote center counties, they use hotspots. Some of them may be Sprint, Verizon, or AT&T. I do have a few counties that use multiple providers just because one side of the county uses better with Verizon and other side's better with AT&T. So, but yeah, hotspots. Dallas uses VPN communication. They're the only county that uses anything outside of a hotspot though.
So Smith and Dallas.
With the exact same configuration, yeah.
All right, so what's next?
I'm sure there's some people here that probably have some questions, so if that's what you wanna do.
I will say something.
I apologize.
Yes, I trust the system, I'm like Lee said, trust the system, but you have to understand the anxiety that we've had because of all the past voting that's happened and things that people have been accused of and stuff like that. And for happen here is very strange.
Absolutely.
But it's you know, it's Rockwall County that we're very proud of, and I'm kind of embarrassed about this, but I do feel like it'll be fixed, but you need to understand why we are so anxious about this. Our precinct chairs are getting phone calls after phone calls, and there's so much jibber jabber going around, and I don't like that, and I don't think any of us do. But my main concern was to make sure that every single person that voted got counted, whether it be a mail-in or what it is. And if that's happened, that's great. But then to try to understand why I could have voted here, but they show me over here at a different time, needs to be figured out, you know, as to why that happened. And I think y'all, you know, said you would do that. I appreciate that. I appreciate y'all coming down so fast. But please understand why that we are so anxious about getting this
I
resolved.
totally understand. I mean, this industry's probably the most scrutinized industry
Yes.
over the last 3 or 4 years, and every vote is treated just like a dollar bill. I mean, it's very important.
Yes. And the transparency with our people, you know, is very important for us. So, you know, it's a little bit nerve-wracking right now, I might say.
There's also an aspect of this, and it's not popular to say, but there's a misinformation, disinformation campaign that goes on every day, whether it's right here or on the news or, and the people, there were plenty of experts about the pandemic when it first happened, just like there are plenty of elections experts.
I've encouraged everyone, and I'm asking internally, and I'm asking our partners in here to do this, is to stay focused on what this specific issue is. I'm with you. I'm not trying to pay attention to, I'm not dismissing any noise or anything that we do here. We don't have that's the world we live in. That being said, this is the question, and this is the answer that I'm interested in right now. Just trying to figure out and make sure this matches up data-wise with the poll books. I'll be very, very clear. Participate in many other conversations, and we hear all that good kind of stuff. This we've got to have answers to, and then clearly, and understand this. I mean, well, I won't even go there yet, but I want to know the answers to this before we understand what the future is with the poll book. So I'm sure you would you do the same thing. Weren't you a Mr. Lynch? What were you? What county?
13 years in the
Navarro County. So you've been
on that side.
you've been on that side of the fence as well. So okay. So when will this? You said that close of business tomorrow?
That's what we're hoping for, yes.
That would be the maximum.
That's right.
Yeah, the time date stamp or the mismatch in what location a voter showed up to, that's gonna take a little bit longer. I don't know that I can give you a date on it, but definitely hoping for next week on that.
Tomorrow, my intent is to be able to, when I get one of these requests, and I've already got a couple, that I can produce a list with 16,275 names on it.
Okay.
And if we do that after every election, I'll take this.
Yes, I know that.
We're not,
No,
Not in new territory here, this.
no, I mean, we can have questions, I just wanna get there are gonna be many other questions that come out of this, that's okay, that's part of it, that's what we deal with every day, and not just with elections, with anything else. That's that's life, and it's also life in county government. And municipal government. But yeah, we'll visit with a couple of those other questions that I'll have later on that. But you're right, because if we go back to what was released on Saturday. So, but, okay. I'm gonna sit there and keep repeating myself, but you understand, but, okay, all right.
Understood.
Anything else? Court? Are you, okay, and then you'll get that data and then you'll let us know. I'm this close from doing a continuation of this dadgum, I can't do a continuation of this meeting again tomorrow, can I? That's how close, that's where I'm at, so that's why I'm asking this.
Okay, so you're gonna have 16,275 names tomorrow.
Okay.
Let's give them the time to sort out, let's find out, first of all, if there truly is a date time stamp issue with a specific voter. Because I don't know that that's 100% accurate.
I understand very clearly that you had stated that you were quickly able to find what you said was not, what was identified as on Saturday was not true, and it was that quick. Nope, it was 1:30. We keep using that example. That was me that popped up that showed up on one of the examples that I had ran, and that data was corrected. It was incorrect. Just like there was 15, 20 names that we ran into those parts. So,
Well then, so let me ask you this, I wanna make sure I'm clear.
okay.
So set the course of action for me that you want as a result of what we just did the last 2 days.
I want this to match up. My expectations are to see
These numbers do match, so I want to,
names. I want that names matched up to this.
Okay.
I want that to, we know that those were the ballots that were cast. I have no disconnect in the fact that you have shown that 15,626 people voted in person, that the ballot board had 649 folks that, or ballots that were cast for a total of 16,275, and I have no, excuse me. And I have no problem with the fact that, it always frustrates me, but I can't do anything about that. That's at 21, the 21 folks that disappeared, that do something silly, do something stupid, do something that they don't understand, or take, you might get through there and your kid call you to pick up from school and have every intent to go back and vote. You don't go vote. I'm not following that. Okay. But yeah, so 16,275 we'll be able to show name-wise. I have no problem with that. Answering my question, if I decide I want to be clear, I'm not saying that we're gonna do that. I'm also not gonna sit in here and meet to meet if we need to, if this is what's gonna happen. But answer that question first of all. If I had a continuation, or do you need some more time?
So we were comfortable in continuing it for the first 24-hour period. If we go beyond that initial 24-hour period, I believe some type of notice has to be posted. Esther is looking at it right now.
Yes, if I may state, when we first looked at it, it had mentioned something about after you continue it to another day after the first continuance, about posting a notice here, and what I'm reading is if the meeting is continued again, the governing body must give at least 72 hours notice. Additionally,
All right.
the Attorney General has concluded that an executive session of a public meeting may be continued immediately next day.
And again, let's clarify and reason why I can follow it. That doesn't surprise me. It would say that would be so you wouldn't be able to sit as an entity, you couldn't control an issue, beat an issue into the ground and out of the public's viewpoint, where you would be having a meeting and you could continue, rightfully so, continue the next day, and then not take actions on something, and continue till you wear out folks paying attention to it, then turn around and take action on the item or not take action on the item. That's why it's written like that. So I can understand that. Okay. Then we'll go from tomorrow. When we get this information, then we'll gauge what we'll do with our next one is.
Okay.
Next meeting is concerned. We'll post in accordance, is basically what I'm getting to.
Okay.
I'm gonna allow the public to ask some ask some questions. Adrian, you're sitting up there by that microphone, go for it.
Adrian, welcome. I know that you're asking for. Still green. Adrian, welcome. I know that you asked for items. I'm gonna add to that list. It is for early vote result tapes that shall be printed directly from the DS200. They need to be signed by everyone present and all totals shall be recorded.
Slow down just a little bit for me,
I
please.
will also send this by email just so
Okay,
you can
that's
add
fine.
it directly. But early vote results tapes shall be printed directly from the DS200 immediately. They need to be signed by everyone present and all totals shall be recorded and totaled and compared to county and the Secretary of State totals by precinct. And ask, how many ballots were sent out total and how many were received back and where is the record? Examine the COC forms for any location showing discrepancies in totals. For example, early voting results plus the every election day results, if they don't match precinct cumulative reports. An explanation over how the vendor reallocates polling location ballots digitally and compiling precinct cumulative reports when no longer vote by precinct. And why doesn't the vendor publish polling location cumulative reports? And I'll send that through email.
Okay.
What else? And again, clearly we can do that, make you probably a little bit easier. Attorney standpoint, if we are clearly under the public forum portion at this time. Adrian, you said you'll send me an email, send us an
Yes,
email on
sir.
it too,
Yes, sir.
please. I'm gonna ask you to copy the court as well when you send that email, okay?
I can do that.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything else? It is 3:35, we'll adjourn today's meeting, thank you.